The world is not moved by talkers. It is moved by doers. People who understand that the fastest path to greatness is through service to others. You want success? Stop waiting for the perfect moment. Start creating impact right now. Help someone rise, and you rise with them. That's not philosophy, that's power. That's the golden rule. The one law of life that never fails: treat others the way you want to be treated, and the world will mirror it back with ruthless precision. If you walk into life thinking only of what you can get, you'll leave empty-handed. The taker may win for a moment, but the giver wins for life. Why? Because people remember value. They remember the one who lifted them when no one else did. They remember the one who showed up, who went the extra mile, who didn't need a reason to help, because helping was the reason. That's how you build loyalty. That's how you build influence. That's how you build a legacy. Look around you. Every person you see has something they need. Maybe it's a word. Maybe it's a chance. Maybe it's a hand. When you step in to deliver that need, you become irreplaceable. You gain more than money. You gain respect, influence, and leverage, the kind that can't be bought. And here's the secret. The selfish never learn. In lifting others, you lift yourself higher than you ever could alone. Your reputation is the currency of your future, and it is built transaction by transaction in how you treat people when you think no one is watching. But someone is always watching. The world has a way of measuring your spirit. If you give with honesty, the return is unstoppable. If you give with strategy, the return is exponential. And if you give with both, the world can't keep up with your rise. You want to be the person everyone calls? Then be the person who never waits to give. Success is not built by pushing to the front. It's built by pushing others forward and letting the momentum carry you all. That's leadership. That's power. That's the rule every giant follows, whether they know it or not. Serve first, reap later, but reap big. When you see a person struggling, don't mock. Don't measure, don't wait. Help. Because how you treat people on the way up determines how high you go. Every step you help someone else take becomes a step forward for you. Every life you touch becomes a chapter in your own story. You don't win by waiting to be served. You win by becoming the one who serves without being asked. And let this be clear. The golden rule is not soft. It's not passive. It's not weak. It's strategy at the highest level. It's the master key. It separates the small time from the unstoppable. Because the person who helps with pure intent attracts allies, attracts loyalty, and attracts favor in rooms they haven't even entered yet. People talk. And when they talk about you, you want them to say one thing: that's the one who changed my life. You can't fake this. You can't pretend to care. The world smells insincerity like a wolf smells fear. But when your actions come from truth, people feel it. And the world moves for people who move with truth. You don't need tricks. You don't need gimmicks. You need service, grit, and vision. Help the world win, and the world will not let you lose. The ones who rise highest are the ones who gave the most when they had the least. That's the test. That's the fire. And when you pass it, you become untouchable. Because no obstacle, no setback, no storm can stop a person whose success is rooted in lifting others. So don't just chase success. Become valuable. Don't just climb the ladder. Hold it for someone else. Don't just ask what the world can give. Ask what you can deliver. And deliver with fire. Deliver with conviction. Deliver because that's who you are now. The golden rule isn't a suggestion. It's the ultimate power move. Let me know if you want this formatted into a video script, reel, or thumbnail concept as well. True success begins when you shift your focus from taking to giving. That's the line where the game changes. Until that moment, life is just a chase, chasing money, chasing titles, chasing approval. But none of those things can sustain you. They don't build power. They don't build legacy. They vanish when the applause fades, when the check bounces, when the world stops clapping. But when you give, freely, intentionally, powerfully, you plant something deeper. You stop reacting to life and start directing it. You stop asking, what's in it for me? And start asking, what can I give that no one else can? And in that switch, everything begins to align. Because giving transforms you. It stretches your mind, sharpens your instincts, and expands your capacity. When you give, you stop seeing people as obstacles and start seeing them as bridges. You begin to understand that every single relationship holds possibility, not just for them, but for you, not just emotionally, strategically. Every time you give your energy, your time, your effort, your knowledge, you invest in your own future. Most people don't get this. They hoard, they cling, they think giving weakens them. But in truth, giving is the ultimate power play. It creates alliances, it creates movement, it creates loyalty that no money can buy. You want to know who wins in life? The person who shows up with solutions, not demands. The person who helps before being asked. The person who offers value when others offer silence. That person becomes unforgettable. That person gets the call. That person becomes the one others can't afford to ignore. Because the world moves on trust. It moves on credibility. It moves on reputation. And your reputation is built not by how much you know or what you say, but by how much you give, consistently, authentically, and without expecting applause. You don't need to be rich to give. You don't need to be famous. You just need to be willing. Give your time. Give your focus. Give your commitment. Give the things most people guard like treasure. Because while they're guarding, you're growing. While they're measuring, you're multiplying. This is the mindset shift that separates the average from the unstoppable. The average waits until they have enough to give. The unstoppable knows that giving is what creates abundance in the first place. It's not about sacrifice, it's about strategy. It's about using what you have right now to open doors, build networks, and create a gravitational pull around who you are. Think about the people who changed your life. Really think about them. Were they the ones who took from you, or were they the ones who gave time, insight, encouragement, opportunity? Now ask yourself, who are you becoming? Are you chasing attention, or are you creating impact? Are you focused on extracting, or are you focused on expanding? When you begin giving like your future depends on it, it starts to return to you in ways you never imagined. Opportunities find you. People recommend you. Problems that used to block you begin to open up, not by luck, but by principle. This isn't about being soft. This isn't about being used. Giving isn't weakness. Giving is dominance. It's having so much internal power that you overflow. It's walking into every situation knowing you have something valuable to offer. And when you live from that place, you stop begging life to treat you right. You start commanding results, not by force, but by presence. You become the person others seek out, the one who elevates every room, the one who's remembered long after the conversation ends. Because real power isn't loud. It's consistent. It's intentional. It's valuable. And value is created through giving. Even in business, the person who helps others win becomes the one who wins the most. You don't need to compete when you're the one everyone wants to collaborate with. You don't need to beg for opportunities when your reputation delivers them. And you don't need to chase success when your service makes you magnetic to it. You see, the truth is simple. The world rewards those who build others. You want to be indispensable? Then help others become stronger. Help them succeed. Help them see themselves as more. In doing that, you expand your own power. And yes, there will be people who take advantage. That's part of the game. But if you let the selfish actions of a few stop you from your principle, then you've already lost. Don't shrink your light because someone else failed to honor it. Keep giving, keep building, keep showing up with integrity, because the long game always pays out. And when it does, it pays out big. Not just in money, but in influence, in peace, in relationships, in opportunities that never come to those who live only for themselves. You want to rise? Then lift. You want to be remembered? Then serve. You want to build something that lasts? Then give more than you take. The people at the top didn't get there alone. Someone helped them. Someone opened a door. Someone believed in them. Be that someone for others. And in doing so, you guarantee there will always be someone rooting for you. Life responds to energy. When you give with power, you attract power. When you give with vision, you attract opportunity. When you give without fear, you receive without limit. That's how you win. That's how you dominate. That's how you live with fire in your chest and clarity in your mind. You don't need permission to give. You don't need applause to keep going. You just need to remember who you are, what you stand for, and where you're going. And then give, like everything you want is already yours. Because once you start giving like that, it soon will be. Every act of service plants a seed for your own future greatness. You may not see the results right away. The world might not applaud, no one may notice. But the seed is there, buried deep, gathering strength beneath the surface. The people who rise to true heights in life are the ones who plant those seeds daily, without needing instant reward. They understand that greatness is not a moment, it's a process, and service is the foundation. When you help someone else win, you've already taken a step toward your own victory. When you give without demanding a return, you multiply your value. The world pays close attention to those who give when it doesn't seem profitable, because that is where real character is revealed. And real character is what creates unstoppable momentum. The ones who fail to understand this chase recognition instead of results. They want the fruit without planting the seed. They want the harvest without breaking the ground. But you can't fake your way to greatness. You must sow it through service, through the quiet, consistent choice to elevate others. Every time you support a colleague, lift a friend, encourage a stranger, guide someone who's lost, you're investing in yourself in ways no paycheck or applause ever could. These acts create ripple effects. Someone you helped will speak your name in rooms you've never entered. Someone you served will remember you when the door opens. Service is a currency more powerful than money. It builds trust, and trust is the gateway to influence. The greatest opportunities in life come not from force, but from favor. And favor flows to those who give more than they take. When you walk into a room and offer your value without hesitation, you mark yourself as different. While others wait to see what they can get, you're already contributing. While others guard their knowledge, you're freely sharing. And in that act, you create leverage. Because now people don't just see you as useful, they see you as essential. That's the effect of consistent service. It creates a reputation so strong it can't be ignored. And from that reputation, greatness grows. If you look at any enduring success story, at the root you will find service. Not performance, not manipulation, not noise, just service. The willingness to do the hard work no one else wanted. The discipline to support others without needing credit. The strength to push others ahead while building silently in the background. And then one day, the spotlight turns, not because you chased it, but because you became too valuable to overlook. That's the harvest of service. It comes late, but when it comes heavy. Most people give only when they think it will benefit them. But the person who gives whether or not it's convenient, that's the one who separates from the pack. That's the one who builds strength in obscurity, power in humility, and success that lasts. Every small act counts. Don't wait for a stage. Don't wait for a crowd. Don't wait for the right time. The right time is every day. The right place is wherever you are. You don't need a grand gesture. Just be the person who sees the need and fills it. Be the person who notices what others ignore and acts on it. That consistency of service becomes your signature. It becomes your brand. And eventually it becomes your legacy. Because the world may forget your words, but it will never forget your impact. People will always remember how you made them feel, what you helped them achieve, who you helped them become. And when you do that enough times, the power you've built behind the scenes explodes into something undeniable. What begins as a seed becomes a forest. What begins as a gesture becomes a movement. And what begins as a moment of service becomes a lifetime of leadership. But only if you stay committed to planting. Only if you refuse to stop just because you can't yet see the result. There are two kinds of people in this world, those who wait to be served and those who live to serve. The first group may get ahead for a moment, but their success is unstable, dependent on others, built on sand. The second group builds with stone. They create roots. They become trusted. They're not loud, but they're effective. They don't need to scream for attention because their results speak for them. You can try to bypass service, but your foundation will be weak. Or you can embrace it and build something so solid no storm can shake it. If you help enough people get what they want, eventually everything you want finds its way to you. It won't always come fast. It won't always come easy. But it will come, because the world has a perfect memory for service. The energy you give out finds its way back, maybe not through the same person, maybe not in the same form, but it returns, often when you least expect it and most need it. And when it does, it arrives with more weight than you imagined. That is the law of the seed. That is the law of greatness. So give not to impress, but to elevate. Serve not to be noticed, but to create change. Help not for applause, but for alignment. Because in doing so, you are not just helping others. You are forging your own future. Every act of service is a declaration of who you are and what you stand for. And when the world understands that about you, it will move mountains to meet you where you are. That is the beginning of real success. That is the origin of every lasting achievement. And it all starts with one powerful choice: to plant the seed and trust the harvest will come. You cannot rise by pushing others down, but you can soar by lifting them up. That is not just a moral truth, it's a strategic one. Every time you tear someone down, you create resistance in your own path. You build enemies where there could have been allies. You close doors that were never yours to shut. When you climb over others, your success is shaky, built on bitterness, on tension, on fear. It may elevate you for a moment, but it will collapse the moment someone stronger pushes harder. But when you lift others, when you raise them alongside you, you're not just building them, you're building yourself, your network, your strength, your foundation. You're creating momentum, and momentum built on integrity can't be stopped. You see it everywhere. People clawing for status, attention, power, using others as stepping stones, thinking if they make someone else look smaller, they will look bigger. But insecurity is loud. Desperation is obvious. The world sees through those who operate from scarcity. When you pull others down, you reveal your own weakness. But when you help them rise, you demonstrate power, the kind of power that doesn't scream but commands. Because real leaders don't compete, they cultivate. They don't sabotage, they support. And that mindset is what sets the extraordinary apart from the average. Helping others is not charity, it's strategy. When you empower someone else, you earn their loyalty. When you open a door for someone, you earn their respect. When you help someone win, you become part of their story. And when enough people carry your name in gratitude, it becomes impossible to be ignored. You don't have to scream about your value when others are already doing it for you. That is how influence is built, not through self-promotion, but through consistent contribution. The people who lift others up become the pillars everyone leans on, and when you are the pillar, you never fall. The world is built on relationships, and relationships are built on how you make people feel. When you raise others with intention and truth, you become a magnet for opportunity, not because you begged for it, but because you became valuable to those around you. And when you're valuable, you're irreplaceable. No one forgets the person who helped them when they were down. No one forgets the hand that reached out in silence with no audience, with no agenda. Those are the moments that define your reputation. And reputation is the currency of the future. Pushing people down creates a cycle of resistance. Every enemy you create through envy or sabotage becomes a block in your path. But when you help others rise, they rise with gratitude. They rise with loyalty. They rise with memory. And they pull you with them. Because no one forgets who believed in them first. No one forgets who spoke life into their vision. No one forgets who stood by them when others walked away. When you're that person, you don't have to chase success. It comes back to you multiplied because you've built a tribe that wants to see you win just as much as you help them win. Success built on stepping over others is temporary, unstable, hollow, but success built on raising others is solid, expanding, and permanent. The people at the top who stay there didn't get there alone. They climbed while teaching others to climb too. And in that unity, in that leadership, they became the foundation for something larger than themselves. That's how legacies are built. That's how empires are formed. Not by domination, but by elevation. By building people, not breaking them. By mentoring instead of mocking. By empowering instead of exploiting. That's the difference between the ones who are remembered and the ones who are replaced. Helping others grow doesn't diminish your light. It amplifies it. When you light another candle, yours doesn't go out. It shines brighter because now the room is filled with light. That's how energy works. That's how leadership works. The more people you elevate, the higher you go, because now you're not rising alone. You're rising with a community. You're rising with people who want you to win because they know you wanted them to win too. That mutual energy builds momentum, and momentum is the force that separates good from great, temporary from timeless. So every time you have the choice to criticize or uplift, choose uplift. Every time you have the chance to block or build, choose build. Because everything you do either adds to your future or steals from it. And when you lift others with pure intent, the return is guaranteed. You may not see it today, you may not see it this year, but the moment will come when you walk into a room and everything works in your favor. Not because of luck, but because of who you've been when no one was watching. That's the moment when the seeds you planted bloom all at once. And your rise will be unstoppable, not because you stepped on others, but because you carried them. Remember, greatness is not just measured by what you've achieved. It's measured by how many people you brought with you. That is true influence, that is true power, and that is the only kind of success that can never be taken from you. Because when you lift others, you rise with purpose, you rise with pride, and you rise with a force that no one can match. That's how you soar. What you give out in spirit, intention, and effort will return multiplied. This is not a fantasy, not some soft idea reserved for hopeful minds. It is a principle as real and exact as gravity. You cannot pour genuine energy, focused intention, and relentless effort into the world without that energy circling back with greater force. It doesn't always return from the direction you expect. It doesn't always come in the time you demand, but it comes. It comes in moments of breakthrough. It comes in people you never thought you'd meet. It comes in chances so precise, they feel designed just for you. That is the reward of giving fully, without hesitation, without doubt, without condition. Most people operate from fear. They give only when they see a direct benefit. They hold back their spirit, their kindness, their focus, thinking that guarding themselves makes them stronger. But the truth is simple. What you hold back never grows. What you bury in fear never multiplies. But what you release with faith, power, and purpose expands beyond measure. When you give with real intention, when your effort is laced with purpose, when your spirit is driven by vision, life opens up. Doors appear, people show up. The world shifts to meet you, not because you begged, but because you acted with clarity and conviction. You are always sowing. Every word you speak, every move you make, every way you show up, it's all a seed. The question is, are you sowing scarcity or abundance? Are you giving your best or giving just enough to get by? Are you showing up with fire or just showing up out of obligation? Because the harvest depends on the seed. When you speak life into others, life comes back to you. When you give effort with no strings attached, excellence finds you. When you move with integrity, the world begins to trust you. And trust, once earned, is the most powerful currency you can own. Effort, spirit, and intention, these are the invisible forces that shape visible results. It's not about looking busy. It's about being relentless. It's not about saying the right things. It's about meaning what you say. It's not about random action. It's about targeted, focused, deliberate moves driven by purpose. Every single time you give your full effort, whether anyone notices or not, you are compounding your future returns. Every time you bring powerful energy into a room, you raise the vibration not just of that room, but of your own life. And every time you show up with pure intent, even in silence, something in the universe starts working in your favor. You're not in this world just to get. You're here to give, and in that giving, to grow. Too many people try to cheat the system. They want the reward without the work. They want loyalty without giving trust. They want success without serving anyone. That path is short-lived. It may look good for a moment, but it collapses under the weight of emptiness. True success, the kind that lasts, the kind that expands, is built by those who give more than they take, believe more than they doubt, and act more than they talk. The power is in the action, The transformation is in the effort. The return is in the energy you gave without being asked. Even in your hardest moments when it feels like no one is watching, no one is clapping, no one is paying attention, remember this: the world is keeping score in ways you cannot. See, the right people are watching. The right opportunities are forming. The right connections are circling, looking for someone like you. And they won't be drawn to your image. They'll be drawn to your energy, your drive, your resilience, your spirit. That's what multiplies. That's what echoes. That's what draws greatness towards you like a magnet. So keep giving. Keep pouring in effort when others are slacking. Keep showing up with power when others fade into the background. Keep believing in people when they've stopped believing in themselves. That kind of spirit is rare. And because it's rare, it's remembered. You don't need to tell the world what you're worth. Let your energy do the talking. Let your consistency become your voice. Let your work ethic become your introduction. Because in the end, what returns to you will not be luck. It will not be random. It will be a reflection of everything you've given out, multiplied by time, magnified by momentum, and delivered exactly when you're ready for it. People often ask, when is it my turn? The truth is, your turn starts the moment you start giving without hesitation. Your turn begins the moment you shift from waiting to working, from hoping to creating, from doubting to doing. That's when the universe leans in. That's when the compound effect kicks in. That's when the results begin to explode, not just slowly, but suddenly, because nothing is ever wasted. No pure intention ever vanishes. No full effort ever disappears. It all collects. It all stacks. And when the time is right, it rushes back toward you like a flood you can't stop. So ask yourself every day, what am I giving? What kind of energy am I sending into the world? What kind of intention am I setting with my words, my actions, my presence? Because if you want to elevate, if you want to rise to levels no one in your family or your circle has ever reached, it starts with what you put out. Put out power. Put out excellence. Put out belief. And the world will bring it back, not in equal measure, but multiplied beyond anything you imagined. Selfishness builds walls. Service builds empires. The selfish mind is small, narrow, constantly calculating how to gain more while giving less. It operates from fear. Fear of scarcity, fear of losing control, fear of someone else rising higher. But in that fear, it isolates itself. It cuts off opportunity. It burns bridges that haven't even been crossed. It builds a cage and calls it safety. But nothing great has ever been built from selfishness. No movement, no legacy, no greatness. Selfishness might win battles, but service wins wars. Because service creates connection, and connection is what multiplies power. One person alone cannot build an empire. It takes people, and people only follow those they trust. Trust is born through service. The ones who serve don't have to shout about their value. It speaks for them. They create so much impact that the world moves in their direction. They don't manipulate, they elevate. They don't drain others, they energize them. And that energy becomes influence. The more people you help rise, the more hands rise to help you. That's how you build a foundation strong enough to hold something massive. Not by pushing people down, not by chasing credit, but by building something others want to belong to. Selfishness demands loyalty but inspires none. Service earns it, secures it, and expands it. You'll always spot the difference. The selfish person enters a room and asks, "What can I take from this?" The servant-minded leader enters the same room and asks, "What can I contribute to this?" That one shift in perspective is the difference between being forgotten and being followed. The selfish person wants recognition now. The servant builds legacy over time. One fades as fast as it rose. The other leaves marks that never disappear. That's the truth behind every long-lasting empire. At the center, you'll find someone who served first, who built value before asking for value, who gave without knowing when or if it would return. You don't grow by demanding more. You grow by becoming more. And becoming more always starts with serving others. Because every time you help someone else win, you stretch yourself, you increase your capacity, you train your spirit for expansion. And the person who's constantly expanding their ability to serve is constantly increasing their ability to lead. Service is the gym for your greatness. It's where you build the strength to handle success before it arrives. It's how you prepare yourself to receive without being broken by the weight of what you asked for. That's why the greatest leaders always serve. They don't need to, they choose to, because they understand that the path to influence is paved with service. Selfishness creates temporary peaks. It might get attention. It might win the short game. But when you look closely, it's empty. It's all for show. No loyalty, no depth, no roots, because it was built for one person's gain, not for the good of many. And anything built only for you will fall when tested. But empires built through service are different. They're supported by people who care, protected by people who believe, strengthened by people who were once lifted by the very hands they now protect. That's how you become unstoppable, by becoming essential to others. If you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. And the only way to go together is to serve each other, to build something where everyone wins. Because when people feel seen, supported, empowered, they fight for that vision, they carry it forward, they multiply it, they protect it. That's why selfishness never scales. It can't grow beyond the limits of one person's ego. But service, real, powerful, intentional service, has no limit. It spreads, it influences, it becomes culture. And from that culture, empires rise. The world doesn't remember those who took the most. It remembers those who gave the most. The builders, the leaders, the ones who created more than they consumed. That's what lasts. That's what spreads across generations. Not titles, not followers, not possessions, but impact. What did you build? Who did you raise? What did you leave behind that others can build on? If your answer is rooted in service, your empire will never crumble, because people protect what helps them grow. They stay loyal to what made them better. They stand by those who stood by them. Every day you're faced with a choice. Do I build a wall to protect what's mine? Or do I build a bridge to create something greater than myself? The wall might feel safer in the moment, but the bridge leads to expansion, to connection, to real influence. And that influence, earned through selflessness, is what turns a vision into a movement. What starts as one person serving becomes hundreds working together. What starts as one act of generosity becomes a ripple that returns as opportunity, trust, and unstoppable momentum. That's how you build what can't be broken. There is no higher position than the one who lifts others. There is no greater strength than choosing to serve when you could dominate. That's real leadership. That's the heart of every empire that stood the test of time. So trade selfishness for service, trade isolation for impact, trade short-term gain for long-term greatness. The reward may not come immediately, but it will come. And when it does, it will come bigger, stronger, and more powerfully than you ever imagined. Because empires built through service are empires that last. The person who helps the most becomes the one people trust the most. Not the one who talks the loudest, not the one who demands the most attention, not the one who shows off achievements or flaunts power. Trust is never given to the arrogant or the self-centered. It's earned through consistent service, quiet strength, and relentless contribution. When you become the one who shows up, the one who solves problems, the one who adds value without expecting applause, people notice. Even if they don't say it out loud, they remember who stepped in when it mattered. They remember who made things happen. And that memory becomes loyalty. That loyalty becomes influence. That influence becomes leadership. In every room, in every company, in every community, there's always one person people turn to when things break down. That person isn't always the most talented. They're not always the most charismatic, but they're dependable, they help, they deliver, they care. And because of that, people trust them. They become the backbone, the stabilizer, the one others look to when things get uncertain. That position isn't claimed by ego, it's claimed by effort. It's not assigned by title, it's assigned by character. You earn it by being the person who lifts others, who steps up when it's inconvenient, who gives more than they take. People follow those who've helped them. They open doors for those who've opened doors for others. The reason is simple. Trust is built through service. When someone sees you sacrifice for the good of others, when they see you give energy when no one's watching, they know you're real. They feel your integrity. They recognize your strength. That kind of reputation spreads. You don't have to promote it. You don't have to scream about your worth. Your actions become your brand. Your name carries weight because people know what it stands for. And in a world full of noise, that quiet kind of power is the most unshakable. Helping doesn't make you weak. It makes you unforgettable. When you invest in others, you create something far more valuable than transactions. You build trust equity, and that equity compounds. It creates opportunities you never had to chase. It builds relationships that elevate your reach. It attracts people who want to support you not because they have to, but because they want to. That's the real win. Not being feared or envied, but being trusted. Because trust opens every door. People buy from those they trust. They promote those they trust. They fight for those they trust. And trust is always rooted in how much you've helped, not how much you've taken. If you want to lead, don't start with authority, start with assistance. Help someone win. Help someone rise. Help someone believe again. It doesn't matter who sees it. It doesn't matter if it's recognized. What matters is that you're becoming the kind of person people believe in. That belief is your leverage. That's how you earn influence. Not by dominance, but by value. By becoming the person who shows up consistently, delivers constantly, and puts others ahead of themselves. That kind of reputation cannot be bought, and it cannot be broken. It becomes your armor, your identity, your legacy. The people who rise the highest are always the ones who help the most along the way. Because while others were focused on climbing, they were building. While others were trying to outshine, they were empowering. And in doing so, they became the foundation that others stood on. When you're that person, when you're the one who always finds a way to make things better for others, you'll never be forgotten. You'll be protected. You'll be praised. You'll be pulled into rooms you didn't ask to enter, because people remember the value you brought them when they had nothing to offer in return. Or never underestimate the power of being useful, not flashy, useful, not loud, reliable. When you help people solve problems, when you remove burdens, when you give more than expected, you become indispensable. And when you're indispensable, your value becomes undeniable. You can't be replaced because you've built something deeper than skill. You've built trust. You've built respect. You've built a name that people speak with certainty. And in a world full of people pretending to be important, the one who truly helps is the one who always wins in the end. So be that person. Be the one who listens when no one else does. Be the one who steps in when everyone else steps back. Be the one who serves without seeking a return. Because while others play for now, you'll be building something far more powerful. Reputation, relationships, resilience. These are the real rewards. These are the things that cannot be taken. These are the roots of real success. And they all come from one place. How much you helped, how deeply you served, how consistently you showed up. In the end, when all the noise fades, when all the titles are forgotten, when all the applause dies down, what people will remember is simple. Did you help? Did you care? Did you make things better for those around you? If the answer is yes, then you've built something that lasts. You've built a legacy not of image, but of impact. And that is the highest level of leadership any human can reach. Be the one they trust. Be the one they follow. Be the one they remember, not because of what you had, but because of how much you gave. In every opportunity to help, there is a hidden opportunity to grow. Most people miss it because they're focused on the task, not the transformation. They see service as a favor, not a foundation. But the truth is, the moment you step into someone else's problem, you begin to sharpen your own strength. You build new skills. You unlock new levels of awareness. You see things you couldn't see from your own limited view. Helping isn't just a noble act. It's a strategic one. Because when you solve challenges for others, you train your mind to solve bigger ones for yourself. You stretch your capacity. You expand your influence. You earn the kind of experience no classroom or book can give. Growth doesn't happen in comfort. It doesn't show up in routine or repetition. It lives inside friction, inside pressure, inside those moments when someone else's need demands more from you than you thought you had. That's where the next version of you is born. That's where your endurance grows, your patience is tested, and your creativity is refined. Helping others doesn't just improve their lives, it elevates yours. You become more aware, more resilient, more resourceful. You learn to communicate better, lead better, and handle pressure better. Every act of service becomes a personal training ground for your greatness. The ones who grow the most aren't the ones who seek ease. They're the ones who embrace responsibility. They don't wait for ideal conditions. They create progress by showing up where they're needed, by saying yes when others say not my job. And in those moments, they uncover strengths they never knew they had. They find discipline where there used to be laziness. They discover purpose where there used to be boredom. That's how growth works. It doesn't come wrapped in comfort. It comes disguised as a need. And if you keep dodging the need, you keep delaying your growth. Every opportunity to help is also a mirror. It reveals who you are. Are you reactive or proactive? Do you see people as distractions or as doorways? When someone needs something, do you pull back or lean in? Your answers define your future, because you don't grow by waiting, you grow by working. And the best kind of work is the kind that doesn't just serve your own goals, but uplifts others in the process. When you help someone win, you don't just build their confidence, you build your own. When you bring clarity to their chaos, you strengthen your leadership. When you give without a scoreboard, you build a character no loss can shake. Most people only grow when it's convenient. That's why most people stay the same. But leaders, real builders, they grow through service. They chase the moments others avoid. They lean into the uncomfortable, knowing that growth is always on the other side of resistance. That mindset sets them apart. While others are waiting for the right time to evolve, they're out there helping, building, solving, and because of that, they level up faster, rise higher, and last longer. Because service over time builds muscle, mental muscle, emotional muscle, strategic muscle. And when those muscles grow, everything in your life starts to shift with it. If you ever feel stuck, the fastest way out is to find someone to help. Stop waiting for clarity. Go create it through contribution. Find someone who's struggling and solve something for them. Take your eyes off your own problems and use your energy to build someone else. That shift breaks stagnation. It kills selfishness. It activates movement. And once you're in motion, ideas start to flow. Confidence returns. You start to remember who you are, not just a taker, but a builder. Not just a dreamer, but a doer. That power comes from stepping outside yourself and investing in the world around you. You will never become the person you were meant to be by avoiding inconvenience. The more problems you run from, the weaker you become. But the more you face, the more you grow. Helping others is not a detour from your purpose. It is the fast track to your potential. Because every act of service teaches you something new. A new way to communicate. A new angle to solve. A new depth of empathy. These are tools you'll carry forever. And the more tools you have, the more prepared you are for everything that's coming next. When you help someone carry their weight, you strengthen your own back. When you teach someone a lesson, you master it yourself. When you lift someone who's fallen, you rise with them. This is the hidden magic of helping. It builds you in ways you don't even realize at first. Then one day, when you're in the middle of your own fight, you'll have reserves of strength you didn't know were there. And you'll trace it back to every single time you showed up for someone else. Every time you put your ego aside and chose purpose. Every time you said yes to growth disguised as service. So never walk past a problem you can solve. Never ignore a moment where your effort could ease someone's struggle. These aren't distractions. These are invitations to level up. Invitations to evolve. And if you accept them, not only will you make an impact, you'll be transformed in the process. The path to your best self isn't paved with comfort. It's paved with contribution. So lean into it, embrace it, live it. Because inside every opportunity to help is the opportunity to grow beyond anything you thought possible. The world gives back in proportion to how you treat others. So treat them like gold. Every thought, every word, every action toward another person is a seed. And like all seeds, it grows. Whether it blooms into opportunity or withers into regret depends entirely on how you plant it. The world is a mirror. It reflects your energy, your intention, your character. Treat people with respect, and respect finds its way back to you. Treat people with value, and value starts to follow you in return. It's not luck. It's not chance. It's the law of life. What you give is what you get, magnified. Every interaction is a test, not of the other person, but of you. How do you respond to the one who has nothing to offer you? How do you speak to the person who can't elevate your status or open your doors? That's where your true power is revealed. Anyone can be kind when it's easy, but the one who treats every person like they matter, especially when no one's watching, is the one who builds unstoppable momentum, because the universe keeps receipts. Life doesn't forget your integrity. It rewards it. Maybe not today, maybe not in the way you expected, but always, without fail, in due time. When you treat people like gold, something inside you changes. You walk differently, you speak differently, you attract differently. Why? Because you're not acting out of desperation or greed. You're operating from abundance, and abundance is magnetic. People feel it in your presence. They trust it. They want to be around it. That's how doors open, through people. That's how opportunities show up, through people. That's how reputations are built and broken, by how you treat people. And the moment you stop seeing others as transactions and start seeing them as treasures, you tap into a level of power few ever reach. This world is built on relationships. Not money, not fame, not talent, relationships. The people you uplift today become the bridges you walk tomorrow. The person you treat with dignity at their lowest moment might be the one who remembers your name when they're in position to change your life. But it only works if your actions are pure. You cannot fake genuine care. You cannot fake sincerity. People see through the mask, but they never forget the one who made them feel seen, respected, valued. That kind of impact outlives any resume or resume. Never underestimate the compound effect of kindness. One small gesture can echo through years. A moment of encouragement can change a direction. A show of respect can unlock hidden confidence. These aren't just soft ideas, they are strategies for power. Because the one who earns the loyalty of others earns influence. And influence is what moves mountains. The strongest leaders don't demand control. They earn it through character, through the way they treat people. Not just when it's easy, but especially when it's hard. Especially when it costs them something. Especially when they have every reason not to. You rise by lifting. You build by believing. You grow by giving. There is no other way. If you think the world owes you before you offer value, you've already lost. But when you commit to pouring into others, to treating them like they matter deeply, even if they don't believe it yet, you become unforgettable. You become rare. And in a world full of takers, the giver always wins long term. Not because they finish last, but because they're the ones people rally behind. They're the ones who are protected when the storm comes. They're the ones who are remembered when it's time to decide who gets the next opportunity. Think of every person you meet as a door to something bigger. You don't know where it leads. You don't know what it holds. But how you treat them is the key. If you treat them with care, that door stays open. If you treat them with dismissal, it locks. And you never know which door held your future inside. That's why every interaction matters. That's why there are no small people, no moments to ignore. Because greatness isn't built in boardrooms. It's built in how you treat the person cleaning it. It's built in the hallway, in the waiting room, in the small talk that feels like nothing but means everything. Treating others like gold is not weakness. It's wisdom. It's understanding the long game. It's building equity where others burn bridges. It's planting roots where others only scatter dust. That mindset protects you when envy rises, when politics plays, when the tides shift, because people remember how you made them feel. And when they're in position to help, they will. Not because they owe you, because they respect you, because you showed them what leadership really looks like. Leadership isn't loud. It's not always bold. Sometimes it's just the quiet decision to treat someone better than necessary. The person who treats others like gold never runs out of value, because they've created a network of hearts, not just hands. A network that looks out for them, speaks well of them, opens doors for them, because they've earned it. Not through manipulation, not through charm, through truth, through consistency, through respect. That's a kind of wealth no one can take. That's a kind of power that can't be faked. And it all starts with a simple choice. Treat Treat people right. Treat people with honor. Treat them like they matter because they do. So if you want more from the world, give more to it. If you want to rise, lift others. If you want to be remembered, serve well. Every time you treat someone like gold, you invest in your future, not with coins, but with character. And that investment will return multiplied in ways you can't even imagine yet. So here's where it all leads. Your future is not built by luck, chance, or the perfect moment. It's built by how you treat people every single day. Your words, your effort, your intention, your presence, they all carry weight. When you treat others like gold, you don't just make their world brighter, you shape your own destiny. You earn trust that outlives titles, build relationships that outlast setbacks, and create influence that no storm can shake. The world will give you back what you gave to it, amplified. So choose to give your best. Choose to lift. Choose to serve. Because in doing so, you are not only building others, you are becoming unstoppable. That's the path. That's the legacy. That's the rule that turns ordinary effort into extraordinary power. Live by it. Be relentless with it. And the world won't just notice. You'll own a future others only dream about.